What is up? We have the full crew back here in the Salisbury studios, fueled by Monster Energy. It's glad to have the foursome back. Smitty didn't make the trip last week. Had a little eye issue. We think it's pink eye. He says it's not. We're calling him Bob Costas all week. Hey, listen, Bob suited up for the Olympics. Smitty couldn't get here for the weeknight show. That's a problem. But listen, we had him hit the trainers real hard. Nice rehab. We're getting him back. We're just in time for March Madness because we're getting hot. We're making a deep run with this tournament. What's up, Smitty?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, listen, I'm prettier than Bob Costas, that's for sure.
Yes, you
and
are.
I know I pick winners more than Bob Costas. No, little eye issue last week. Took the week off, but I'm doing great. This is the best time of year. This is like Christmas, everybody. And we're picking winners. We're really hot right now, so let's just keep going here. How you guys doing up there in Pittsburgh, Mr. Matty? What's going on?
Oh, man, I'm kind of already dragging ass, so they say, when it comes to work, and I'm starting to get into Vegas mode and get ready for this first weekend of March Madness. I'm ready. Let's have a good night tonight. We got a great guest, so we can break down some college hoops for sure.
Yeah, I just coached the sixth grade recreation game of my life on Monday to pull out a magnificent victory, hit a buzzer beater to send it to OT, and then won an OT. I will never be a better coach than that, so I'm just going to leave it right there and get back to gambling.
Do you draw on the whiteboard or do you use your hand like you're playing backyard
Absolutely.
hoops?
You love it when you go to the whiteboard.
I love it.
I got a bunch of basketball nerds on my team, so we go to the whiteboard, man. It's everything, and then we drill them on the inbounds plays by making them go to the whiteboard. I got basketball nerds. They love all the plays. They love all the defenses. It's great.
We'll have to send your resume to Syracuse. They're looking for a new coach. We'll get him up there. Kaminsky would be the next Boeheim.
We run a 3-2, but I can still work with the zone. I'm okay with that.
Hey, he'll keep that zone in place there
I like
in Syracuse.
it. I like
that might be good.
All right, let's get right into this. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, especially with the March Madness tournament. Now it's kind of cram mode. You got to get all the information in before the tournament. Right now we're in conference tournaments, and we have one of the best guests that we can bring on at this time. He's gotten real close with Smitty. Smitty's active on Twitter. Met Will Hill. We've had him on a couple times. He's a great guy. He's not the Will Hill on VSiN or on Twitter. He's a VSiN contributor, and then he's the Golden Boys Network. What's going on, Will? How are you?
Boys, what's going on? Thanks for having me. Like you said, this is the best time of the year. You could have a debate whether it's this week or March Madness itself, the NCAA tournament. To me, this might be even better just because there's so many games, especially this Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday. It calms down a little bit Saturday. Then Sunday it's a lighter day with the selection. But man, there's just so many games from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. It's really hard to watch them all these next few days, but makes for some good opportunity advantages. It's the best.
Absolutely. My wife, she was like, am I going to see you this month? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're going to be in front of the TV. I said, well, at least you know where I'm at. You can't say I'm lost. So, all right, why don't we get right into this? Will, let's talk about, first, let's talk about that quick competition you're in. Killed it. I believe you went 5-0 this week or this weekend. That was awesome. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about that? And then that'll get us started in the college basketball talk.
Yeah, it's sponsored by the Circa. It's 10 of us, some decent hosts, some other people. Matt Humans organized it. You pick 5 games a week, sort of like the Circa football contest for anyone who's familiar with that. And it started, let's say, mid-January and goes until we're off this week, and then we pick 10 games next week. So I think we picked 35 games. We're off this week, then we pick 5 games Thursday, 5 games Friday. Right now I am 23-11-1. With a 2-game lead, and I think the tiebreaker is best bets, and I'm like 6-1, I think, something like that in best bets. So I'm in good shape here with the tiebreaker. So basically, 2.5 game lead with 10 to play. But look, I just one bad week or one bad slate, and that lead can dissipate. So I gotta run the ball, get out of here with a win.
I like it. Smitty, why don't you start off with the questions?
Yeah, I love the smaller conferences. This is just something. Since being a little kid, you watch the smaller conferences. I really enjoy these. Now, some of these teams are getting in. Right now, Will, with the teams that have got in, locked a spot in, who's a team that you're really maybe eyeing up for that maybe upset in the first round?
Boy, there's so many. So a smaller conference, I can pick Charleston. I feel like Charleston's not.
Oh, that would be fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Charleston's really good. I mean, I know it's hard to judge them based on their schedule. I mean, they were lucky to get away with a win against Wilmington last night. We're recording this on Wednesday, so I don't know when people will listen, but it would have been interesting if I don't trust the committee to have put them in with an at-large, but now that they're in, I think they are dangerous. I'm trying to think of somebody who's more off the radar because they'll be probably on that, I'm guessing 10, 11 line, maybe even 12. It would be unfair to to put them in a play-in scenario. That wouldn't be right, I don't think. But I'm trying to think of another team. I would say Iona is 1-2 out of the Metro Atlantic. Assuming they win it, they got upset in the conference tournament last year, and Ryder beat them. Then Ryder lost to St. Peter's, and we know what happened from there. St. Peter's goes on to make the Elite Eight. I think Patino's got a really good team. They played really well this last month or so. It'll be interesting to see if he can, if Iona can keep him at Iona, or if he has his eye on St. John's or Georgetown or some of these other jobs that open up. But I do think Iona is a team. They press, they're athletic. Patino's a good coach, especially in the tournament. I do think Patino in that conference, I think he could get. Look, if the draw breaks right, wouldn't be shocked if he wins a game or gets to the Sweet 16. So I think Iona's got a really good team too.
So one team I want to jump before I let the boys take over here. I really like that Missouri Valley. I really liked Bradley, but man, Drake just put a performance on Sunday with that team. If you really dive into that Drake team, I think it's like the 5th oldest team in basketball. I mean, their guards, 2 of their guards are 25 years old. There's a 23-year-old, I think maybe 24-year-old on that team too. They shoot the free throw well. They shoot the 3-pointer well. The coach's son is really good. What's your overall opinion on Drake?
Yeah, it seems like Missouri Valley is always a team that provides an upset or two. So I wouldn't be shocked if they beat a couple teams. And you mentioned the age. It's funny with the COVID year and some of these new transfer rules. You're seeing some of these kids where it's like 23, 24 years old. The kid for Detroit that almost broke the scoring record was, I think he's 24 years old. So yeah, it's definitely different, but wouldn't be shocked. You could say this about so many teams. You wouldn't be shocked if they are out in the first round. You wouldn't be shocked if they're in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. There's just so much parity here that Drake is one of these teams that could certainly, win a few games and get on a run here.
Yeah. So I'll make the smooth transition here to the oldest team in Division One, the Penn State Nittany Lions. I'm part of the death cult. Will they actually make the tournament, or am I going to be crying on Sunday night?
Man, that was a big win against Maryland. They don't feel like a tournament team. You know them better than I do. To me, they don't feel like a tournament team. But I would say the bubble is so weak that this year they'll probably get in. It'll depend what they do in the Big Ten tournament. My guess is they get in. It doesn't feel like, I know Pickett's a hell of a player, and they've had some nice wins. They had a stretch a couple weeks ago, and that Rutgers loss was awful. I think it was 2 Sundays ago. Yeah. They've had some stretches where they just bombed threes. They hit 10, 11, 12 threes in some of these games. So, they're like a lot of these teams where they can get hot. I don't love that team, but look, Pickett's a tremendous player. They're hot and cold with the 3-ball. If they get a day where they shoot the 3-ball well, they can certainly advance. I do think they'll get in. I don't know that they would get in on a normal year, but you look around the bubble is just weak. I mean, the fact that North Carolina is still in the conversation. North Carolina stinks, and they're still, if they make it to the ACC semifinal final, they'll probably get in. Although I don't, think they should. They'll probably get the benefit of the doubt. So I do think Penn State's probably on the right side of the bubble right now.
Yeah, I'm fully prepared to be that team that they show on the broadcast that doesn't get in, like where the screen goes dark and they're all kind of looking around wondering what happened. It's kind of more traditional with Penn State basketball history. Maddie, do you have something?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go a little bit of a bigger picture. We all love to do the brackets, and we all love to bet. So is this the year? Now, it's been a few years since the big upset of UVA. Is this the year a 15 or a 16 could pull off another one? Or are the ones just probably too good this year, but are the twos strong enough to where they're going to get pushed?
Boy, so what are we thinking the twos are going to be?
UCLA, who just took a big-time injury, lost Jalen Clark.
I think Purdue could be a 2.
Purdue's probably going to jump up to the 1, depending on how they do.
Well, if they take an early exit, I could see him dropping down.
Yeah. Let me pull up who the projected 2s are right now. So we have UCLA, Marquette, which
they could be beat. They could absolutely be beat.
Texas, and they now have Gonzaga on the 2 line.
I don't like Texas at the 2.
What was that?
I don't like Texas at the 2. I think they're a very up and down team. They're either on or off.
Yeah, and it's so hard because some of these teams are just so good at home. They're so bad on the road, but you know what? You don't play home games and you don't play road games in the tournament. So It's like, what's the truth? The truth is obviously somewhere in between. I wouldn't be shocked if a 2 is on the ropes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait and see who the 15s are before I know if I'm picking one or not. But look, this is a year where I wouldn't be shocked by anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they have a really scary 15 projection right now, and that's Vermont, who's really,
Vermont
really
can beat
good.
them. Vermont can beat just about anybody.
And they
really
have
good.
them paired up against Marquette. Boy, oh boy.
Absolutely.
Talk about a bracket buster. That could be it.
Yep, absolutely. Vermont's really good. Yeah.
One of the small teams I was interested in was Colgate. Obviously, the Patriot wasn't that great this year. Now, you have a little bit of good defense there with American and Navy, but Colgate has shown in past that they've made decent tournament games. I believe they inked out a cover, a year or two ago against Wisconsin? I believe it was last year.
That was last year they covered, yep.
What do you think, depending on the draw, obviously, plays a lot into that, but do you think this year's team could kind of make that the next step from going to a cover to maybe an upset this year, or what's your thoughts on Colgate?
Colgate's really good now. Boy, these games all blend together. Have they played their title game yet or no?
Tonight.
Yeah, they're playing right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the score on that one?
They are up 17.
Yeah, they're up comfortably.
At the half,
yeah. So they're going to be in. Look, I mean, they're going to be a popular pick. You know, it used to be, I mean, you guys are old enough, you guys are in my age bracket or older, where you remember when these mid-majors, these lower-tier teams, you get a big number with them and they cover, they do well. The cat's kind of out of the bag. You're going to think, all right, Colgate's a sexy pick, is what, a 13 or 14 seed. You're going to look at the spread, and it's going to be like 4, 3.5, and man, that's cutting it close. But look, Colgate's really good. They don't defend well, but they are good on offense. They're experienced. They're well coached. Wouldn't be shocked if Colgate won a game. Absolutely not.
So, Will, I want to ask, the Zags really put on a show last night against St. Mary's. And to me, it looked like a very tired St. Mary's team. BYU got down in that game and really full court pressed them really hard the night before. And it just seemed like they were gassed to me. Now, Gonzaga is playing.
Can I jump in really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just jump in really quickly? I had a 400-1 parlay that was on a boost. Every leg hit except St. Mary's. So if we can talk about any game besides St. Mary's, Gonzaga, I would appreciate it.
Okay, can I just go? I'm going to take the Zags into the tournament then. Okay, we're going to quit talking about that game then. I had someone write me last night and said, what's your thought on them? I might put a ticket on them to win the national championship. And I said, well, in my opinion, they're playing well, but it's not, I don't think it's one of their best teams that they've had over the years. Is that a team that you think could make a run here? And with that person, should they put a little money, maybe pizza money on, or a little money at all on them to win the national championship?
What number are they? Because look, I mean, I'm going to give the same answer for a lot of these teams. It's so wide open. I can't rule Gonzaga out. Gonzaga's got a lot of firepower. It's like you said, it's not their best team. They certainly hit a lull, beginning of the season. But that's still a team. Look, if they're in the Final Four, I wouldn't be shocked. They're really good. Few noses way around a big game. So look, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm curious what the number is. And again, sometimes you're better off just taking these teams money line rollover and keep going. But look, if Gonzaga now, it'd feel like a stretch to see that. To actually see them cutting down the nets. But look, if you're in the Final Four and you got, I guess what are they, 25-1, 30-1, something like that?
I think it was
20-1.
20-1. Yeah, I think it was 20-1.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I'd want a little more. What do you guys think? I'd probably want a little more on that.
I would.
I'd actually want to see the path as well too before I took a 20-1.
Yeah.
Did they get put in the region of death? Then I don't see them coming out because the defense is still a little wonky against great teams. But 20-1 is still good value.
Where do we think they're going to land? Where do we think?
We're at 2.
They're at 2. Yeah,
2 today.
Wow.
So you could tell the committee. I mean, they're really showing them respect because last week we're talking about them being a 5. And then they get hot. So
right.
That number. I mean, I guess if you're going to make that bet, put it in tonight before it goes from a 20-1 to about a 12-1, and then you shorten yourself if you're going to make that. And that's just my advice.
I think come finish though, I think they'll probably end up on a 3 line. You have to think that some of these 3-4 projections right now, 1 or 2 of them may win their conference tourney and then bump them up to probably the 2 line. I think them and Marquette right now have to be the weakest 2s out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Marquette could absolutely be beat. I mean, that's a good offense, but Shaka Smart's had his fair share of early exits. I mean, we all remember VCU making a run, but he had plenty of early exits with Texas. They don't defend that well. They're another one of these teams. They're good, but they could certainly lose to just about anybody.
What's your thoughts on a team that kind of had high expectations? They started out, I believe, number 8 overall in the preseason. Then they had a lull where they had their star center was out, and then they started making a run. Probably last month is really when they turned on, and we're talking about Creighton. What's your thoughts on them winning the Big East with teams like Villanova getting hot? Obviously, Justin Moore came back. UConn's always tough, and then furthermore into the tournament. Where do you think they kind of sit and things like that?
I was able to get them like 75-1 when they were slumping.
Wow.
I think that's the better way to do it, is just pick these teams off when they're slumping. It's not who you bet, it's sort of when you bet them. I don't have what's their number for the Big East tournament? My guess is short.
I want to say it was like 4-1.
Yeah, they don't give you great value for these teams at the top of these conference tournaments. They just don't. That being said, when we're talking about the Big East, and that was a wild game. I don't know if you guys saw DePaul Seton Hall. I don't think I've ever seen a game end that way on a goaltend, no goaltend review, which was just insane. UConn 2-1 to me, I think, to win that tournament is interesting. I think they'll be into it. I think Hurley hadn't had a lot of success in terms of the tournaments at UConn, whether it's the Big East, whether it's the NCAA. So I think it'll mean something to them. They get a home crowd at MSG where the tournament's played. So I like UConn in that tournament. But, yeah, I think Creighton is a talented team. I'd have to see their price, what it is right now to win it all. But, look, that's a team that they have Elite Eight, Final Four talent. That's for sure.
Sure.
Well, real quick.
Creighton 40-1.
40-1. Wow.
That's still decent odds.
Well, when you look these teams in, like I kind of look at these teams, I go nuts with these teams missing free throws. Like I really start eyeing up stuff like these teams that can actually shoot free throws. And I get it's a pressure situation, and as you keep going, so everybody can miss. But I really look for teams that can shoot. What do you look for to do a bracket or to take a team that may be going really far? What's your overall? Do you look at teams that do that, shoot the three well? Like we talked already, like an older team. I really like teams that have true point guards. Like UCLA, I really like Campbell, the point guard. Now the loss today, I think, to that guy getting injured, that's going to maybe affect how far I take UCLA. But what's your overall? What do you look for?
You're checking all the boxes. Yeah, I'm the same wavelength. Free throw shooting, 3-point shooting, and I like teams. If it's just to pull an upset, win a game or two, it's different. But if I want a team that's actually going to win it all, and we're talking about these outright tournament winners, I want a team that can play different ways that's balanced. Because if you're a good 3-point shooting team, but you can't score any other way, chances are you're going to have to win 6 games. You're going to have an off night shooting. You got to be able to score, in the paint and just be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. So if we're talking about a team that's actually going to win it all, I want a team that can shoot the 3, but is not relying on the 3. And that, obviously has as few weaknesses as possible. But when, especially a tournament, you look for a team that can slow the pace, good point guard play, good free throw play, good 3-point shooting, which makes this tournament so much fun that we can have so many of these upsets.
Well, my last question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, with the fun part. So when you look at the Cinderellas and the sleepers and the high seeds here, what did you look for in those kind of teams that kind of shock the world? Because obviously it's hard to match up with strength of schedule because they play in these leagues where most of the teams aren't that good. Is there something like I like to look for a guy who has a star and usually either good on one side of the ball, either offense or defense, because you're not going to get both at that level. Like, what other criteria do you look at when you're trying to pick those games?
Defense, slow the tempo. If you get into a track meet, for years, remember Iona before they had Patino, they had Tim Kluse. They had some great mid-major teams, but they were a track meet. So you get against North Carolina, you're trying to play a full court game. It doesn't you're playing them at a game that they're better than. So it's about a team that can slow the pace and he's not going to play in a full court. So tempo is huge, defense is huge, and obviously the 3-ball.
Well, when you're going through these tournaments, and maybe it's dependent round to round as we kind of dwindle down, what is your maybe kind of go-to bet? Is there are you kind of like maybe a first half guy or like a lot like Pam Maldonado is a huge live bet person. She likes to see the kind of the flow of the game for the first 5 to 7 minutes. Where do you kind of angle your betting in terms of the tournament, would you say? Or what style, I should say?
Yeah, I like first half unders. That goes for these conference title games too. I think it's sort of like, how the Super Bowl is usually low scoring early. You get max intensity on defense. You get, it's more of a half court game. You don't get all these ticky-tack calls usually. And I like first half unders for that reason. Sometimes there's an adjustment to the venue that affects scoring. I try to stay away from the full game unders because all the fouling at the end, the possibility of overtime kills your under most of the time. So I like unders, but I like to stick to the first half and just avoid the full game.
I like that.
All right, Will, I'm going to put you on the spot. we don't know the bracket. We don't know the seeding. But in pen, not pencil, name me one team you're putting into the Final Four.
The Final Four. And I would have said UCLA like a week ago, but that injury scares me off. I would have said TCU, but all this stuff with Lampkin is really crazy and concerning. If you saw that, TCU is really good, but boy, that's troubling. One team that's going to be in the Final Four. I'll go Kansas. I'll just go. I don't feel great about it, but I'll say they're just so good on offense. Trust Self to make the adjustments. Although he's had plenty of early exits himself, whether it's Bucknell or some of these other teams getting knocked off. He's had a bunch of them through the years, which all these coaches and all these teams do. If you're here enough, you're going to get upset. But I'll say Kansas, but I don't feel great about it.
It's scary that you actually said UCLA, who I originally had in there. Now the injury scares me off.
Yeah.
TCU, you just summed up. We talked about that on our text string today. And then Kansas is my third pick to go in. I think Houston's probably going to be the gimme for everybody. But I'm a Kansas guy, and they're probably going to jump to the top of my board now.
Kansas is my one, but can I throw the second word to Kansas and put State? Because I think they've hit a lot of boxes. They play tight defense, in my opinion. They have your stretch 3, 4, 5 in terms of Keontae Johnson, one of the best players in the country, and then you have true point guard play who can score as well as not only pass. Obviously, they're a little unseasoned in terms of like a good deep tournament experience, but anything can happen, and I feel like good defense, good shooting, and a good guard, like we all talk about, could get you deep into that run, depending on how you seed out. I mean, Kansas is my one, but I think Kansas, too, at Kansas State has a real shot to make it in this coin flip tournament, as I would say it.
Right. And look, I mean, there's a reality here where Kansas, these teams, these blue bloods usually get a favorable path. They usually get a cushy path. We've seen that plenty of times. It was last year they got a really easy path to the Final Four. So a team like Kansas, they're going to get preferential treatment. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's not fair, but we've seen it for years with the tournament.
Well, my last question is, do you own a Northern Arizona t-shirt, and are you going to put it on tonight and try to root for them to get in the tournament? Team that came in with 9 wins. Now they're, I think, up to 12, playing Montana State. What do you think of that? Can they hang tonight? I think that's 7.5. What do you think in that game?
Absolutely, they can hang. I mean, Montana State played a double overtime, just a rock fight last night, and that was going to be the last game of that 400-1 parlay, which I had on the money line, and I could have hedged in middle. So, as you can tell, it's a very bitter.
Hey, we're not talking about that team anymore, Will.
Oh my goodness, it's so frustrating. They can hang. Montana State's good, but that was a rock fight last night. Northern Arizona's athletic. They got guys that can score. They can shoot it. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's a close game with 5 minutes to go. Absolutely not.
Is there any that you're eyeing up for our audience tonight?
What do we got left tonight? I got LaSalle right now. That was good for a moment, and then I looked, and they're down by 8. I know Ohio State just hung on. I'm trying to think. How about Minnesota plus 5.5 or so against Nebraska? It's an ugly one, but that's a lot of points for Nebraska. I'll take Minnesota plus the 5.5.
Smitty, you like that Nebraska team.
I do like that Nebraska team. I have them in a teaser tonight. Real quick, this one I was eyeing up. Oklahoma.
I like Nebraska, too. I just like them as a dog. I don't like them laying points.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
How about Oklahoma State minus 1.5? Against Oklahoma? Quick thoughts.
They have scarred me. I've had so many times this past month where it's like, all right, this is the night they'll bounce back, whether it's against Baylor. I like them at home against Kansas. They just played so badly for a while that I kind of don't trust them. And I'll say this, Oklahoma has to be the best last-place team in the history of college basketball. That's a really solid team. I wouldn't be shocked if Oklahoma beats them. I would actually lean towards the Sooners there.
Agreed. Stay away from the Pokes, man. Absolutely.
Matt or Jason, you guys have anything? Kind of finish up?
I do. I was just going to say, Will, before you roll out of here, make sure you give yourself a little plug. But are you going anywhere for the first weekend?
So I'll be home. Just sweating these games. I'll be sweating these games really from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed these next few days. So you get a little break Sunday with a lighter slate. Monday. The NIT usually starts, Tuesday? Sometimes those earlier tournaments start Monday, Tuesday. I even, bet those. There's some great opportunities. NIT, I think, is an underrated betting vehicle because, you get some great underdogs versus these favorite teams that have no motivation and just don't show up. So I'm betting the NIT. I'm betting these conference tournaments. And boy, it's hard to believe this NCAA tournament is a week and a day away. I mean, it just came so quickly. I think because football going later, it just makes it seem like the time the Super Bowl ends for the NCAA tournament, it just comes so quickly. It's crazy.
Love it. I love the enthusiasm.
That's why we have him on here. You got to love a guy that goes, man, I'm going to bet the
He's
NIT.
pumped.
I'm betting that other one. I don't even know the CBI or whatever. I don't care what it is, man. That's why we like Will, and that's why he's on the show.
All right, well, two things. Give yourself a nice plug, and then send us off with your bold prediction for the March Madness tournament.
Bold prediction. All right, to plug, I'm on VSiN 3 or 4 times a week, so check that out. And then Gold Boys Discord, twitch.tv/Gold Boys Network. We have shows throughout the week. A bold prediction from the tournament. Boy. All right. I own it at the Sweet 16. That's about as bold as that's the only one I can.
I like it, though.
If I think of anything else, I'll let it know.
I like it. I think that's realistic.
That's a good one.
All right.
I own it to the Sweet 16. We're gonna hold them to the fire on that one.
I haven't checked the score. Watch them be eliminated.
They're up about 60 right now, so they're okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we always love having you on. We'll get you back on. We'll talk a little more college basketball, and until next time, we'll be on Twitter with you. Not the Will Hill. Hit him up, follow him, like and subscribe to stuff. The Golden Boy Network. Get yourself involved with that. So, all right, well, appreciate you coming on.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Good luck with all your plays. I'll talk to you guys soon. You guys do a great job. So it was fun coming on.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Will. We'll see you.
Thanks, Will.
Love having him on. He is hyped, man. I tell you, he made I've been excited. I've been a little tired. I'm trying to work trades and things like that so I can have many of the tournament days off. But he just kind of gave me new energy.
I'm shocked.
I love it. I'm telling you, I just felt like this, monster energy. I just got the Will Hill energy. It was incredible.
Just gotta talk to Will for 5 minutes, and you're ready to go. The energy level's good.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're ready for those. I'm ready to get Northern Arizona.
Yeah. Can I bring up a point to that, though? So a 9-win team, because you brought that up. So literally before we get on the show, we're talking hey, Charleston, obviously they won their conference last night, the CAA, but had they not won that game, there's not a guarantee that they were making an at-large. Then you could have a Northern Arizona 9-win team win tonight. Had that played out, that would have been the most egregious act had Charleston not gotten in. I think they really have to kind of, even though that didn't happen, it was a realistic scenario, and I think they got to take that back to the table and say, hey, is this something that we actually even want to entertain in the future? Because this shouldn't even have been a chirp that Charleston wasn't even, a lock at a 30-win team, regardless of if they won the CAA or not. I kind of had a problem with that.
Well, it's teams just getting hot at the right time. I mean, what was St. Peter's?
Well, it is, but
year?
dude,
they win their conference and they go really far. I mean, I don't think they were. I don't know what their record was heading into the tournament last year, but I mean, that's the great things. I mean, it's hard when you look at these teams like Charleston. Let's say them. They had 30 wins and they lose and they don't get in, and you're like, wow, they have 3 or 4 losses. They should get in. But then you got a team like Northern Arizona that's just getting hot at the right time, and good for those guys. And maybe they'll luck it out tonight and get a win and have a chance to go dancing and get a big win. The worst thing I want to hear really quick, Jason and Matt, about Merrimack. Now, they've been in, I think, for 3 or 4 years. What's going on with the NCAA with this guy?
It's a 4-year transition, I believe.
I mean, what are they transitioning to? They're in. Why are they in the conference tournament then? I'm glad they won. I'm really glad they won because that was their big game last night. Now, Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, I had moneyline parlay with, I can't remember who I had them matched up with, because I said to somebody, I don't know how Fairleigh Dickinson's really going to play anybody, because do you want your star player to turn an ankle and then he's out for a while or anything like that? So, but just what's your overall thought, Maddie, on the transition period?
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to dig into basically the NCAA constitution and rules, because look at the transfer portal. You can leave a school and just go play immediately. Why can't these guys just join the NCAA, get the D1, and be eligible right away? Okay, maybe 1 year to see what happens, get them acclimated to all the stuff. But yeah, that's crap for Merrimack, man. But before Jason tops onto it, we have a request. I just want to jump into it. We got to give our boy Ryan Hyatt a shout out for his work on VSiN. He's talking a little Texas Tech. And everybody check him out on Twitter, Ryan Hyatt Media, and that's Hyatt like the hotel. Good guy, great follow. Loves his Red Raiders down there. He did a great job on VSiN yesterday, I believe. Yeah, just check him out. Jason, sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you with some NCAA talk.
No, we got to get Ryan going there. His Red Raiders need a little help. They're down 17 to the Mountaineers.
I know. That was a bad play by me. Teaser them up tonight. I thought they were going to play a little harder.
I think this is the fourth postseason in a row now where we've had a team in this situation. So I do think the NCAA needs to figure this out. Now, somebody put it on Twitter. It might have actually been Will. Talked about if you go down like Hartford's doing, it makes perfect sense that you're ineligible for a couple of years while you phase out like your players that are from scholarships and things like that. But coming up doesn't make any sense. You're a complete underdog. Like if your team's that good already, what the heck is the transition? It doesn't make any sense. The only thing I can think is that you have like the conference doesn't want to share all the revenue with you. But I mean, I think that can be worked out. So get these teams in. You don't these aren't traditional powers, right? This might be the only window Merrimack has where they're going to be good for 3 or 4 years, and then who knows what happens after that, right? Bellarmine last year won their conference tournament, was ineligible. They're still ineligible, and I think there was another one from the Atlantic Sun that happened 2 years ago, and they went back to the regular season champ to get in. It's ridiculous. Like these teams are good. These schools, this is their moment to shine. This is the one time the whole country talks about these smaller institutions. Like, give them a chance to play. Everyone wants to see the Merrimack zone. They want to see what the heck's going on there. And as a 16 seed, and they'd be really feisty at 16, at least for a half. So yeah, NCAA is just kind of ignoring the situation, but they really should get on it.
Well, I'd be curious to know why it's different for each league. You got a 4-year basketball. I don't even know what you call it. I guess introductory ban from any postseason, but then in college football, it's only 2 years. Well, to me, a college football team is a lot more physical and size dependent. You know, when you're going up, you're recruiting obviously bigger and stronger guys on paper. In basketball, it's a less physical sport, and I feel like it's an even playing field if you compare the two. So I think, like we've all said, it should be immediate. If you're good enough to win, then you're good enough to win. I don't think you should be, punished for going up to, up against the big dogs and beating them. I mean, if you've got to give us a chance. If we get blown out by 50, we get blown out by 50. And that's, to me, that's the measuring stick, right? Hey, we got smoked by UNC by 50. Okay, well, then the next year, maybe we come back and we'll lose by 30. We're making progress, but we don't get to see that progress when you're confined to the Patriot or the CAA, and you don't get to play these big dogs unless you're scheduling them, in November, December. So I think we're all in agreement on that. But
I think Jason made a great point there, saying it's hard to win.
It's very hard,
especially in those lower conferences. And like Jason said, it was their time to shine. And, just like look at a team like Kennesaw State a couple years ago. I think they had 3 wins. Now they won their tournament and they're in. Okay, they could, and, you look now and say, okay, the program's heading in the right direction. Absolutely. But could some guys transfer? I mean, everyone transfers now to try to keep these guys there for
free agency
years and everything like that. It's hard on that. So I think it's like you guys said, I mean, to come up and to play the level where they're at and they're winning, man, let them win.
Yeah, I don't think we could say it any better. I mean, obviously, we know the NCAA is pretty corrupt. They do whatever they want, in my opinion, and it's probably not going to change. I'm sure there's some financial cost to that is the reason that, it's not happening, like Jason alluded to, the profit sharing through the conferences, but I'm sure it goes beyond that point. So it's just something we're going to have to deal with. It's unfortunate. It's just playing, to me, unfairly, but it's their rules, and it's how we have to go play. So let's do a little transition. Let's stay in college. We got a couple more topics. Want to just dabble on some college baseball. Smitty's been extremely hot. I joked that this is kind of my territory, but Smitty's jumped on. Jason's jumping on. Matt's jumping on with some good stuff, and we'll go a little college baseball and then XFL and golf. Smitty, why don't you start? What do you?
I'll give our guy Matt Grissom a quick shout out from last week.
Yeah,
when
great.
We had him on. He brought up Wake Forest. Wake Forest is one of the 4 last undefeated teams in college baseball.
No, I think they lost last night.
No, they lost last night. Coastal.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Now, Coastal did everything they can to blow it, though. They tried to blow it. So they have Wake Forest has a league leader home runs. They also have Rhett Lauder, probably top 5 pick, and then they also have Nick Kurtz, incredible player. So they've got a good good team up there in down there in North Carolina. Good conference, ACC. Obviously, we'll see kind of what they're made of. They can hit the ball. Every team's going to lose. I mean, Coastal, it's a chippy team. You were playing down there in Myrtle Beach, so it's tough. But yeah, he was all over them. So
yeah, it's hard. I'm dabbling a little bit here. I'm doing okay. I lost today. I gave out a money line parlay, Duke and Miami, and I know Duke lost.
Miami lost as well to
Miami.
Jacksonville.
Okay, well, it wouldn't have mattered. I'll tell you, I think you guys asked Matt this last week. The midweek games are crazy.
They are.
I mean, there's some high-scoring games.
There are. Well, the problem, and I can say this speaking to the state of Florida, like those midweek games against your state of Florida, like when Florida plays Miami, it's a big series. But when Miami plays Jacksonville and Florida plays Florida Atlantic, those teams are good. Those teams play ball all year round, and they can beat a lot of teams around the country because it's warm weather. They're playing 365.
Gulf Coast is a really good program.
Florida Gulf Coast just took 2 or 3 from Florida State, who, we're seeing Link Jarrett kind of building that program in his first year. So when you're looking at these areas, these warm weather mid-major teams, like, don't sleep on them. We talked about that yesterday, especially the ones in the state of Florida, because they are good.
Yeah, you get a lot, over-unders. I haven't really played a lot of over-unders in college so far. I've been trying to do just money line or money line parlays in there. But the midweeks, I mean, that's 14, 15. And bullpens really. Dallas Baptist last night, I had them in I needed them to hit a big parlay last night, and bullpen just could not hold the lead like multiple times in that. So bullpen's an issue right now too. But the weekend series are fantastic.
Jason or Matt, are there any teams that you guys are kind of following as you're getting into the sport? Besides Penn State?
I'm still behind on my college baseball. I'm tied up with hockey.
Fair enough.
So I have not transitioned yet. I will do my homework probably this weekend sometime.
Jason was watching that play-by-play of that Penn State Holy Cross game that I sent you guys the other day.
I'm keeping an eye on NC. I'm waiting for my Penn State plays in the middle. We talked about that. I got Pitt in the radar. I got West Virginia in the radar. North Carolina in the radar. Holy Cross. That doesn't help us.
I'll tell you real quick. So our buddy Garvey that came on the show and just told the greatest story. One of our first shows. He played at Pitt, a really good baseball player at Pitt. And I wrote him. They were playing like the Snowbird Classic at the beginning of the year against Maine. And I wrote him. I said, dude, they're losing by like 10 runs. I said, can you still hit the ball? Maybe they should bring you back. Snowbird Classic against Maine. But, yeah, there's some and that's the thing. And you said it last night, I think, when we were talking. Anybody can beat anybody. They really can in college. And that's why college baseball is so exciting.
Well,
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said NC State is a team that I'm going to keep an eye on. They're like you said, though, Q, they're in the ACC with a ton of powerhouses. So it's going to be a grind. But I really like the makeup of the squad.
The problem with NC State, in my mind, is it's a good program. Like, they make I don't want to say Cinderella run because they are a competent team in the ACC. Like, they're never bottom barrel. But they can't keep anybody. Like, they have, like Tommy White, right? He was a great player for him last year, breakout player. He transfers at LSU. They've got this stud freshman this year, and forgive me for not knowing his name. He's got like 9 home runs on the year. He went like 6 for 6 the other night with like 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and a single. He's not going to be there next year. He's going to Tennessee. He's going to LSU. He's going to transfer to Florida where he feels he can win a national title, within his college time. Because in college baseball, you can get drafted out of high school, but then you have to wait till you're a junior to be drafted again. So these kids want to actually win a title. It's not like a one-and-done thing, and that's what kills NC State. And I think that's going to hurt them this year, not only on the mound, but I think offensively, outside of him as a breakout player, like they're going to have to play very good, sound defense, and they're going to have to score in these 3-game series and just hit timely hits, great defense, and hopefully you have a strong bullpen. Now, the one team I will say, and I'll give a little shout out, is UVA. My father-in-law is a big UVA fan. They're kind of a team. I have some interest. They're a local team per se, an hour and a half away from us. Their pitching scares me. Outside of Jacob Berry, they don't really have anybody. Jack O'Connor's okay. Great time watching Geloff play. Him and Kyle Teal are a huge dynamic duo. But out of the ACC, they're right now they're undefeated. They're one of like the top 10 last 10 teams undefeated. But they scare me because they just don't have the pitching. So I think the ACC might be a little down this year. Because I think that's a trend outside of Wake Forest. UNC's, yeah, they got a good number one Friday, but outside of that, they don't really have anybody. It seems like your teams like Stanford and your Southeast conferences are the ones who have your dominant pitching, and I think the ACC is going to struggle with that, Matt.
Good.
That was great. That was nice. I got on a little rant there. Smitty, what's the team you're looking at?
Anybody that wins me money. How's that?
Fair enough.
Anybody that I look at,
Fair enough.
I like the money line, and I look at some stuff, and my notebook kind of lights up, and I go for it. Talking with you with Florida, I mean, really good pitchers. The one guy that pitches and hits, really good talent. What's that guy's name?
Who?
The guy for Florida.
Oh,
hitter.
They call him Jack Caglione.
Yeah, really good player. I mean, like you said, you were talking that series up. I mean, they can throw a lot of guys at you.
Well, they're top three. Sproat Friday, Hurston Waldrop, he's an All-American Saturday, and then Cags on Sunday.
Good team. So, yeah.
Bullpen's an issue, though.
Yeah. Bullpen. Well,
issue.
we just, I said that a little bit ago. Yeah. Bullpen is the issue. But, these teams are going to work that out as this season goes. So, I mine up a couple, but like I said, anybody that can win me money.
I love it. Did you now? Before we switch to another sport, we asked this Matt Grissom last week when you weren't with us. But has there been a team maybe you've kind of looked at like a College World Series future? Obviously, LSU's the heavy favorite. Tennessee, Florida. We talked about.
Tennessee's a little up and down right now in my book.
Yeah, they lost. They lost to Boston College.
I mean, it just doesn't seem.
Last night.
I track some ECU games. Because we've talked about them last year, so I kind of track them. I have to say, I like Florida a little bit with the pitching. The starting pitching, I think, is really good.
One play that Ben Upton, shout out to Ben Upton, 11.7, great podcast. I listen to it all the time. Those guys are great over there. He made a good point last night. So, and we've all done this when we're playing. It's tie game, bottom of the ninth, or you're down one, and you can't let anything drop because there's a guy on third. So you move your outfielders in. It's the first time that I've ever seen that play work last night. Little bloop line drive, short infield or outfield catches it, guns them out at home. It was the first time I've ever seen it. It was actually incredible to watch because, we're always like, well, this isn't going to happen 15 feet off the infield. Like, they're just going to hit it over our heads. But to see it actually work was pretty cool. And then Boston College walked them off.
Yeah, that would have been
plucky Northern squad.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, they can hit this year. They're one of the top home run teams in the country, surprisingly. Now they're playing like South, Northeast Central Sisters of the Poor or whatever up there in Boston, but hey, it's a big win.
ACC, I was just gonna say they're in the ACC.
Yeah, but they're not an ACC. They're not playing. They're not playing conference yet. Yeah, it's not conference yet. That's next weekend. So then we'll up the ante on that. But
you better say when you say your father-in-law, your mother-in-law really likes them too. So give her a little shout.
Give her a little shout. She's giving me the my phone's going off. She's wondering why we don't get a shout out.
So there you go.
She just wants to come on the show one time.
There you go, Tammy.
We'll throw it out, Tammy. Smitty, he said, come on down anytime. You can sit next to him and do the show. You can take my place for the night.
We can break down some sports there. So.
All right, let's talk a little XFL. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch much. I did watch the Defenders game as I was trying to watch a lot of college baseball. I know Smitty says Houston's number one, but damn, I'll tell you, that DC team, not only from the crowd standpoint, so they get to snake back, the place is rocking. It's true fandom. It's not like you go to FedEx Field and you hear a lot of shouting on the TV, and then you look at it and it's a lot of like dark green jerseys or blue, Cowboy fans and things like that. It's true DC Defender fans, and they are rowdy. They're prideful, and I think it translates to the team. You could see them getting fired up, with that large crowd, especially in the end zone areas. And they kind of rally behind that. And obviously these guys, like, they're not the greatest athletes. That's why they're not in the NFL. But they're still elite athletes compared to people like us. And they have a good quarterback system with Jordan Teamu, De'Aaron King. And then obviously I think the best coach in the league by far right now is Greg Williams, not only for his interview presence. I think he's crushing it for as many times as they get to him. But his adjustment and his ability to make those guys play hard and put them in the right position, I think they lead the league in takeaways. And I like that he even corrected it's not a turnover, it's a takeaway in the interview. The guy, DC is a team right now that's really scary, and I actually would almost put them above Houston in my opinion, because I think defense wins championships, and I think DC's got the best one in the league by a considerable amount.
I don't know. I like that Houston defense. So that's a really good front. I do like Greg Williams, good coverage, and obviously Reggie Barlow, that is the head coach there. He doesn't like his.
Is he? Because we don't know. We never see him.
We never see him. But no, they've done a really good job on the offensive side of the ball to like make use of their assets. Like the wide receivers, I think are still hurt there, but they've done a really good job using both quarterbacks and using their running ability to kind of create offense. And like you said, the defense played really, really well. But you watch Houston, San Antonio. I thought that was a really good game. San Antonio was clearly a bit of an underdog, but they played pretty scrappy. I think Hines Ward's actually one of the better coaches in that league too, because I don't think that's the best roster out there, but they play pretty much they give themselves a chance every single week. I'll give them that. And they got to fix that Vegas field. That is just brutal to watch on TV.
That's brutal.
I've seen better high school. Like, go play at Bishop Gorman. That's a better situation.
That's bad. I was trying to explain that to my neighbor, old man in the garage, and he's like, what are you talking about? There's only like bleachers on. I said, you got to see it on television. It is just, that's horrible.
Can you imagine what those locker rooms look like?
Well, it was a AAA minor league baseball stadium until 3 years ago because the AAA team moved out to Summerlin, which is a nicer suburb of Vegas, and this was kind of out there. I think they thought they were going to be able to use UNLV's old field, but that got condemned. I think the city wants to claim it to develop it. And then whatever with the Legion Stadium fell through right away. And like you said, though, Bishop Gorman Stadium has to be pretty nice. I don't know. They put up a road game.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's pretty decent. Yeah. And that would be a much better setting. They probably don't want to play the high school field, but I guarantee the camera angles and the coaching angles and all that stuff would be far better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go real quick because I go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say my only XFL point. Q, I'm with you. I have DC over Houston. But then for a betting angle, here's something to look at. Someone on VSiN broke it down. When Vegas is at home, their overs are projected to hit at about 68%, only when they're at home. And their remaining schedule, I guess, who they have coming up. So look at Vegas overs when Vegas is the home team is a sharp angle play, people have said.
I didn't watch a lot. I did watch the Seattle game. I'm kind of still really high on that Seattle team. If they just don't, it just seems like sometimes they just do really dumb things and they like fumble the ball, but then they can look like $1 million.
They're playing San Antonio. Seattle's laying 4.5 Saturday.
So let's run through because I want to hear this lines. I know we got to go quick here. So we got
I'll give them to you right now.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so we'll start there. Seattle minus 4.5, hosting San Antonio.
All right, I like Seattle on that.
Okay, Houston is at Orlando, laying 9.
I
like the under.
Yeah, the over/under for Houston is 37.5. For the Seattle game, it's 40.5.
So, Matty, you like the under in that?
I do too. I mean, Houston could hang 28, but I don't know if Orlando can score.
Yeah. It's a one-sided thing.
Orlando scored 9 last week against Arlington. That was a 10-9
I was going to say.
Okay, so that one.
That's about what they're averaging.
St. Louis is hosting Arlington. St. Louis laying 4, over/unders 36.5.
I like St. Louis in that.
St. Louis can score.
On St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean they can move the ball. McCarron, he's moving that offense. Now they're a passing offense. To me, they don't really run the ball that well, but they do pass well.
Now, Q, this is going to be the challenge to your DC home field because St. Louis is going to bring the people this week. So this is really interesting.
Well, they don't have the beer snake, so they lose.
Because it's a bigger venue, but
it's true.
We'll see how crazy they are.
That's true, but they don't have a beer snake. That's the topper right there. They had 2 snakes going this week. If you didn't see that,
what's the DC?
I saw they almost merged. It was a big moment.
Yeah, it was great.
What's the DC line?
So DC is hosting Vegas, laying 6, over/under 41.5. Now I think the 41.5 is inflated because of what we saw last week, 34-28. I actually am inclined to maybe lay the under, but I actually would lay the -6 with DC, and I feel very confident in that. I think they're a team that's starting to get some gel, like we said. The offense is moving. You got a 2-quarterback system. They run probably the best out of any team in this league, in my opinion. And then Lucky Jackson's kind of, even though he wasn't a 1 or a 2 receiver, he's kind of star-studding it right now for being the number 1 guy while the others are out. So look for him to continue to have a really good game. And then obviously DC, I think, is going to shut down Vegas. So I think my best bet would be the Defenders -6 at home. I mean, that place is going to be rocking for a 4-0 start.
Yeah, Vegas quarterback's a little iffy too. Hundley gives them some
Yeah.
with his feet, but through the air, they're not good. I think Williams can adjust for that. Also, I love the DC crowd gets points for dressing as lemons and bringing lemons to the game, which we talked about on the show last week. They have embraced the lemon. I love it.
I love it. It's great. Listen, life brings you lemons. You just turn them into DC Defenders fans.
Turn them into beer snakes.
Beer snakes and lemons. That's all we need in life. Matt, you got a line you're leaning before we switch to golf?
Do I got a what?
Do you have one of those lines you're leaning before we switch to golf?
The under in that.
Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the 37.5. All right, cool. Yeah. We'll have some plays out. I know I will. I'm 4-1, best handicapper on the East Coast right now. XFL, baby. I know the sport. I'm a degenerate, just like those guys. Let's go to golf. Why don't you guys take it away? I actually am in a golf pool for the first time this year.
There you go.
A little golf clap for me. Couldn't have done it though. I had some advice from you guys, so that was cool. And I'll read my card out once you guys kind of fill in.
Oh, I'm gonna let Matty. Matty can go.
Matt's all over.
I'm gonna say Matty's, the guy with the most info on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I dabble here and there, but Matty's usually the go-to guy. So Matty, take over.
I thought I had another winner last week in Scheffler, and then he goes out and lays a dud in his final round. So, but big props to Kurt Kitayama, first win ever, and man, he took a hard route to get there, but good for him. So this week is the Players down in Jacksonville, TPC Sawgrass, famous island hole. But we were talking off air and prior to the show. This is a target golf course. I mean, this is for guys who can pull out that 3-wood, sting it to 290, hit a spot, have 180 into a par 4, and then drive home I don't even know what these guys had, a 7-iron from there or whatever. But anyway, so two of the main stats to look at if you're going to handicap this: strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained approach. And my DFS lineup for this, and I use this stat a lot for both these, I have Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris, Victor Hovland, Brian Harmon, Corey Connors, Jonathan Vegas, and Lucas Herbert. And strokes gained off tee, actually every one of those guys that I just rattled off was in the top 41, which is really, really impressive. Now, the only one who struggled for strokes gained approach was Lucas Herbert, but I played him more so because he had a good run here last year, so I think he should be able to back it up. And he actually has played pretty well. He's made a bunch of cuts in a row, just nothing exclusive getting in the top 10, top 20. But that's my guys for this. I haven't made any bets yet, but I'm going to do a top 20, top 30, top 10 kind of bet, and then some winners. And after that, I'll turn it over to Smitty. Hit me up.
Yeah, I hit Victor Hovland top 10 last week. Man, he messed up on that last one. Yeah. Just some of his putting was crazy. Fitzpatrick, I know Matt was on him. I had him to win it. Was doing well and then just kind of fell apart. So where am I going to go this week? This was hard. I was saying to the guys, you look at like past results here, and some of the big guys have not played great here over the last 2 years. So this was hard. I thought this was really diving into some stats here. So what did I do this week? I'm going to go Jason Day to win the tournament, and I'm going to go Jason Day top 5. I'm going to go Keegan Bradley. I think he shot well here last year, pretty well overall. So I'm going to go Keegan Bradley top 10. And then I think it's Brian Harmon. You said you're playing Harmon too, Matt, in your lineup? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I like some of the stats with Harmon here this week. So I did my best bet of the week is Harmon top 20. Jason, you got anything?
Actually, Q, just read your plays because I think we're pretty much aligned this week. On all of these. I think we have the same 5, or at least the 5 of the 6.
That sheet you sent me, as I'm trying to get a little more into it, that's incredible. The strokes gained. I am playing. Why don't you talk a little about that, and I'll pull my plays up. Kind of what that sheet is.
It was Ron Kloss is the Twitter handle. I got to play the PGA Splits. I think 101. It is a fantastic site. I think he works for another podcast, but really great job of breaking down shots gained for each of the different phases. And you see the whole field and how they've done the last 5 or 6 times they played it. Of course, I've used it the last couple of weeks for golf gambling. I think it's a great resource.
Yeah, I mean, it literally, even after, so I'm not huge into golf, as these guys know. I'm still learning. I mean, I watch it, I play it and stuff like that, but I'm in this golf pool for the first time this week. And so I asked these guys for some advice because they obviously watch every tournament more intently because they're gambling on it. And so Jason sends me that link, and then he sends me his names. So I look at the link as well, and we align pretty well. So I had to pick 6 golfers. It was in like a tiers situation. So I picked JT, Keegan Bradley, Tommy Fleetwood, Corey Connors, Jason Day, and Adam Hadwin. I really like Jason Day. So the way this works is you pick 4 of your best golfers to score, and then after the 4 rounds, the lowest score wins. I think Jason Day, like we talked about last week, he's getting healthy and he's starting to make an emergent on the course. So I really liked him like as a tier 5 kind of steal your guy. But Justin Thomas typically plays the Florida courses pretty well. Obviously, he lives in the state of Florida, so he plays them a lot. But I also think he plays really good golf Saturday and Sunday on these competitive tournaments like the Players and the Open and things like that. I mean, he never gives up, and I think that is something that's going to help me this week, even though he's a tier 1 guy and he's essentially playing to win. That sometimes you see like John Rahm or these guys have a rough time, barely made the cut, and they just kind of go through the motions. Like Justin Thomas, especially after he won, was it the PGA Championship last year? He came back and beat Mito Pereira, when he choked it. Like that guy never gave up, and he was 6 strokes down heading in, to the first tee. So I like that a lot. But I used your sheet, the gains, the strokes gained, and it was pretty in depth. I mean, I highly encourage Jason to tout that out this year and use it. I mean, if it wins me this pool, I'm all in.
The Smith men, we've been battling.
I think we should actually talk to the guy so we get him.
My dad keep throwing those plays out. We're going head to head each week.
Do you have his plays?
Yeah, he went Xander Schauffele to win, Scheffler top 5, Morikawa top 10, Patrick Cantlay top 20.
Now I
mean, he doesn't look at any of the lines
yeah.
and stuff. My dad doesn't do any of that. He just gives me guys and where they're going here. So we've been doing that. And I will say, Cantlay, I know a lot of people on VSiN they like him. I think Pam Maldonado also liked him. So they said he was really popping. And I did say off air to the guys what I heard on, I think VSiN, it's Florida. It's supposed to be nice, but wind can pick up. Rain can come in at any time. I know they said tomorrow morning early, it's supposed to be just perfect. Wind does pick up, nothing crazy, but they said they were really eyeing up the guys that tee off really, really early in the morning, maybe even do one of those first round leader kind of, bets or anything like that. So keep an eye on that.
All right. Do you guys have anything else before we wrap it up?
Bad news. Duquesne's getting rolled.
Yeah, that's bad news.
That game.
What's that?
They were up 8.
It happens.
They were in control, and but now it's coming out of nowhere. Just crushed them.
Welcome to my world with George Washington.
Well,
we're not going to talk about the team. It's cost me a lot of money.
I know
year.
Will be happy because I think he said he had LaSalle there. So
yeah,
He
did.
Yep. All right, boys, we've got an action-packed next few weeks. You have to stay on our Twitter because the way the tournament rolls, you got your Thursday, Friday, round 1, Saturday, Sunday, round 2.
I just want to say something here.
You got to stay on our Twitters because it's so hard to get a show out. We're a weekly show to just bang out these weekend shows. Like, it's tough. So all of our plays are going to be on there. I don't know. We might even dabble in a little Twitter space. Maybe I'll get that going. Give something a little live for the fans. Follow us out. But follow our XFL plays. I'm hot. Smitty's done pretty well on it. Follow the golf plays. These guys are, they're on their game. They know what they're talking about. College basketball, Smitty's best bets. Hammer those. He's like 15-3 in his last 18. I mean, that's top tier, best in the country worthy. And then, our baseball, even though I'm sitting at 9-9 right now, it's still positive money, playing parlays. Smitty's 13-9. So we're giving you guys winners, and they're free. Just follow us. Like us, subscribe to our YouTube, our Twitters, our Facebooks, everything like that.
So I just want to, if you want to get my best bet, our good buddies over at Sharp Angle Syndicate, they do a great job with some bets, really good, not expensive plays. Check them out. My best bet is on there every day. Like Q said, I'm 15-3 in my last 18. So if you want to do that, but check those guys out. Sharp Angle Syndicate. Those guys are top notch.
All right, like we always say, bang your bookies, and we'll see you.
Thanks for listening to the Notebook Wagering Podcast.